everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another Sunday meal prep video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kristi. In today's video for breakfast prep, we are going to be making skinny French toast muffins, and for lunch prep, I'm going to be doing chicken teriyaki casserole. So excited to try both of these recipes. Both of these are new to me. I've never tried these ones before, so I'm anxious to see how they come out. I only have one dinner kit to pre-package this week and then cut up my fruit. So if you want to see how I meal prep breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks for my husband and I, then stay with me.
Don't you know that you're beautiful? No matter what the scars, no matter what they say, then we'll shout it out louder, prouder. Ain't no one gonna hold us down, 'cause you know that we're beautiful, just the way we are, just the way you are, oh, just the way you are.
Before we get to meal prep, let me just introduce myself to those of you who are new. Like I said, my name is Kristi. I'm currently following the WW Blue program, but I do provide the points for all three programs on my channel, and I will also link any recipes so that way if you're not following WW, you can get any nutritional facts that you need there. However, you don't need to be following any type of weight loss program to get tips and ideas from my channel. I do a lot of meal planning, meal prepping, different type of recipes that you could definitely make your own. So I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel by clicking the subscribe button. Also make sure to click the notification bell so that way you're notified anytime I upload new content. I meal prep for my husband and I for just 3 days. We usually do breakfast and lunch Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we do something different later on in the week. And then for my dinner kits, I'm basically doing kind of like a meal delivery service where I'm putting all my ingredients into a bag and just portioning them out and putting them in a bag, and that way the kit is ready. When I come home from work, I just pull the kit out of the fridge and start dinner. So I hope you'll stick around. Let's get started with meal prep. All right, so we're starting with breakfast. For breakfast prep this week, I'm making Pound Droppers skinny French toast muffins. For my meal prep videos, I'll link any of the recipes down in the description box below, as well as any of the items that I use, like my scale, my meal prep containers, and things like that. Those will also be linked down below. So this recipe comes out to 1 point for 1 muffin, or 3 points for 2 muffins, and that's on all programs. She does have a note saying that if you don't use the unsweetened almond milk and you use skim milk, then it's going to be 2 points per muffin. So I'm going to be using the unsweetened almond milk. So for this recipe, we need 10 slices of bread, and make sure it's the 1 point per slice bread. So this Life sugar-free is 1 point for 1 slice, 2 points for 2. And just take the 10 slices and just cut them up into little bite-sized pieces. We also need 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk. We also need 1/4 cup of unsweetened applesauce, or she says you can use pumpkin puree as well, but I'm going to use the applesauce. We also need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and then 2 tablespoons of 0 point sugar. I'm going to use the Lakanto Golden, which is kind of like the brown sugar version, but she says you can use either the white or the brown sugar one. Also need 4 eggs, and then we're also going to need another 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon with 1 tablespoon of regular sugar. So that will be mixed together for the topping. So like I said, I've already cut up my bread. I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I have my muffin tin sprayed with cooking spray. So now what we're going to do is take another bowl, and I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of the Lakanto sweetener in there. And if you don't have Lakanto, you could use Swerve or any other kind of 0 point sweetener. Next, we're going to put in 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk. Then we want 4 eggs. One teaspoon of ground cinnamon. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And the 1/4 cup of unsweetened applesauce. And then whisk that together real good. All right, now we're gonna pour that right into the bread mixture. And carefully mix it until every piece of that bread is coated. Alright, after all the pieces are coated, now we're going to let that sit for about 5 minutes. Okay, once the batter has kind of soaked into the bread, now I'm going to just mix the sugar and cinnamon together. And then I'm going to go through and fill my tins, and she says to do it about 3/4 of the way full. They will rise and then go back down after they're done. Okay, so she says to fill them 3/4 of the way, but maybe I need to press them down in because I have quite a bit left. So I'm just going to fill them until I run out of the breading. I wasn't really pushing them down. Yeah, these are going to fill it to the top, so hopefully these are going to be okay and not like overflow in my oven. It might make a difference with the bread. Like depending if it is, I think like Sara Lee bread is kind of more airy than some breads. So this bread might be a little bit more hearty. Alright, now we're going to just sprinkle the sugar over the top of them, or the sugar and cinnamon combination. Okay, now those are going in a 350-degree oven for 15 to 18 minutes or until the tops are golden brown. Alright, while the breakfast is going, I'm going to get my berries washed. So if you're new, I just use my OXO salad spinner, and I do about 4 parts water to 1 part vinegar. After those have sat for a little bit, then just rinse them off with water. Alright, we'll just let those sit and dry. Alright, so breakfast is just about done. Now I'm going to get my containers ready. These meal prep containers, I'll have these linked down in the description box, as well as my scale that I use. I'm also going to be using some sugar-free syrup. This is Maple Grove Farm syrup. This kind you can have up to 4.5 tablespoons for 0 points. So I'm just going to be putting these in my little round containers here. These I actually get at the Dollar Tree. So for 2 tablespoons is 30 milliliters. So I think I can fit like 60 milliliters in here, which is 4 tablespoons, which honestly, I don't ever use that much. My husband uses that much, but I don't usually. Yeah, so 4 tablespoons fills it pretty close to the top, 60 milliliters. So that's how much you can have in each one for 0 points. Alright, now let me get the muffins out. It is done, and I decided to do the blackberries with the breakfast. I actually ended up cooking these. I did it for the 18 minutes, and it just seemed like they weren't quite done, so I had to do them an extra 5 minutes. So mine ended up in the oven for a total of 23 minutes, but everybody's oven varies, so just keep an eye on them. Check them after 15 to 18 minutes. You want to just make sure that they're not gonna, burn on the bottom. But these smell so good. So we will get 2 of these. So there is breakfast. I have this 0 point syrup, 0 point blackberries, and what I'm going to do during the week is I have this Swerve confectioner's sugar. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of that on top of them as well. This is 0 points. So this is going to be our 3-point breakfast on all programs. Unless you used skim milk instead of the unsweetened almond milk, that's going to make your muffins 2 points each. Alright, let me just show you what this is going to look like with the confectioner's sugar. The reason that I usually wait to do this is by the time you go to eat it, it's really not on there. So I'm just kind of doing this for visual purposes. But I would recommend that if you're going to use this, just wait until the day that you put it on there. Like kind of drizzle it over the top of your syrup maybe. And for the Swerve and the Lakanto, my local Publix carries these. I know some people have a hard time finding them, but I know they're also on Amazon, so I'll link them down below too. So there we go. Super excited to try those. So as always, I will do a meal prep review in my weigh-in video, which usually comes out on Fridays. But sometimes I will also mention it down in the description box after the recipe. After I try it tomorrow, I usually, when I put the video up, I usually try and put whether we liked it or not. So I will be sure to let you know. So I'm going to put those aside and move on to lunch. For lunch this week, I'm doing teriyaki chicken casserole, or chicken teriyaki casserole, however you want to call it. This is a recipe I found from, this website is lifeinthelofthouse.com. I've never even heard of that website before, so not really sure about any of the recipes on that site, but anxious to try it. So this looked really good. So I did tweak this a little bit. When you go to the website, which I'll link down below, it starts out with this one. It starts with the servings. It starts with 4. So I tweaked it. Up the servings to 6 and it automatically changes it. But then I made a few minor changes because I didn't like the 0.38 of a cup of brown sugar. I don't know if you can see that, but it says 0.38 of a cup of brown sugar, 1.13 cups of soy sauce. So I made a few changes. This is going to come out with the changes I made. It's going to be 5 points on blue, 7 points on green, and 1 point on purple. So purple, you have very low. Between breakfast and lunch, y'all only have 4 points this week. All right, so what I ended up doing is I'm going to be doing 1.5 pounds of chicken, and I'm using the boneless, skinless chicken breast. I'm doing 1.25 cups of soy sauce. I'm going to do half a cup of, actually, I thought I was going to do the Lakanto, but I only had a little bit left that I actually used in the breakfast. So I ended up picking this Swerve up at Publix this week when I did my grocery haul. So this is basically the same. It's 0 points. So I'm going to use a half a cup of that, and then 1 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. It has 18 ounces of frozen stir-fry vegetables. They didn't have stir-fry, so if you remember in my grocery haul, I got this Japanese blend that's dripping all over because I already cooked it. I actually have already cooked my vegetables. So this is Japanese blend. They didn't have the stir-fry blend, so this is what I got. I've already cooked those. You just steam them right in the bag in the microwave. So I've already cooked those. The other thing that I'm using is 3 cups of long grain cooked brown rice. But I didn't have brown rice, so I am actually using white rice with mine, which isn't going to change the points for me. But if you're on purple, make sure you use the brown rice because that's the only way it's going to be 1 point. So I've already cooked my rice. So when you change it in the recipe for the rice, it kicks it to 4.5 cups. I thought that seemed like a lot of rice, and I was afraid it would make the points too high. So that's why I'm using 3 cups. So again, it's supposed to be brown rice, but I don't have any. So for blue and green, that's not going to change the points. But for purple, you definitely want to do the brown rice to make it 1 point. Alright, so we're going to start over here on the stove. So I have my oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I have a 9 by 13 inch pan sprayed with cooking spray. So I have my burner set on high. I'm going to put in 1.25 cups of soy sauce, 1/2 cup of water, the 1/2 cup of the 0 point brown sugar. Then I'm going to need 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. And then 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. It actually calls for 3/4 of a teaspoon of minced garlic. I honestly don't know what that means because I love garlic. So I'm going to use a little bit over a teaspoon. And then just stir that around. I'm going to turn my heat down to medium now and cover it. I'm going to cover it, which I don't think that cover actually fits this pan, but close enough. And I'm going to bring that to a boil over medium heat. Alright, while that's cooking, now I have 2 tablespoons of water. I'm gonna add in 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And just a tip, anytime you do like cornstarch and water or flour and water, if you have like a shaker bottle, like I think sometimes people use them to mix like their whey protein and things like that, this works real good for that. I used to have one, but I cannot find it, so I'm just gonna whisk it together real good. All right, and the tip to this, because this is gonna be used as a thickening sauce, is make sure that it is mixed together real well. And anytime that you mix flour or cornstarch with water, always make sure to use cold water. All right, so now it was starting to boil. Take the lid off, and then just let it cook for about 1 more minute. Bring it to a boil. All right, once that is pretty much to a boil, now we're just gonna slowly add in the cornstarch and water. I always recommend just doing this real slow as you're whisking it. You can literally feel it thickening. So we're going to set that aside, and now we're going to get the chicken ready to go into the oven. Alright, so I'm going to be using 1.5 pounds of chicken breast. This is the Springer Mountain Farms chicken breast. I think that I'm probably going to cut these in half. Let me see how thick they are. So this recipe actually calls to cook the chicken for about 35 minutes. I think I'm just going to cut these in half because we're going to be shredding them after. So I'm just going to cut these in half, and that way I don't think they're going to have to cook as long. So that way it's kind of like butterflying them, but it's just thinning them out. Okay, now I am going to get these into my prepared pan. So I have my pan sprayed with cooking spray. Whoops, that one didn't cut all the way through. That's okay. Like I said, we're gonna shred these after. All right, now what we're gonna do is take about 1.5 cups of the sauce, and that's gonna get poured right over the top. We're gonna save just a little bit of the sauce for the end. And just go through and cover all the chicken. Now it's gonna go in a 350-degree oven. Like I said, it said 35 minutes in a 350-degree oven, but I think because I cut these in half, I don't think it's gonna take that long. I'm gonna say maybe 20 minutes. And then what you would wanna do is while that's baking, this is when you would wanna get your rice cooking and your vegetables. But like I said, I had already done mine, so I will come back when this is done. All right, so I've had my chicken in there for about 25 minutes, and I think it is pretty much done. We're actually gonna be baking this a little bit more anyway once we mix it all together. So now just go through and shred the chicken, which usually when I shred my chicken, I use beaters. Like I just put it in a bowl and use my electric beaters and shred it that way. But because this is already mixed with the sauce, I'm just gonna do it this way. Now we're going to add the rice, and then add in the vegetables. It actually calls for 18 ounces, but I'm going to see what this does. Each of these bags is 14 ounces. I was going to add the whole bag, but I think that's going to be a lot. And then I was just looking over the recipe, and it said to add almost all of what's left except for a little bit to drizzle over the top. So I'm just going to add a little bit more to it. Yeah, I think I'll bulk it up with a little bit more vegetables. Okay, so I added almost all that second bag. All right, now this is gonna go back in the oven for about 15 minutes. And this is gonna be enough for 6 portions. So I'm just gonna, when it gets done in the oven, I'm just gonna put this into 6 meal prep containers, and that's gonna be our lunch. All right, so I just took it out of the oven. It's been in for another 15 minutes. And I wanna let you know, I did try that sauce. It is a little bit too salty for me. So I double checked my soy sauce. I thought the soy sauce I had was low sodium and it wasn't. So this is pretty salty, so I would definitely recommend to use the low sodium soy sauce if you're gonna be making this. Because like I said, with the regular, it's just a little bit too salty for my liking. But the flavor is real good, so I'm hoping with it mixed together with everything, it will tame down. I just basically tried the sauce by itself. I just kind of took a spoon and just tried it. And like I said, that way it was just a little bit too salty. So I'll make sure to put comments down below as to what we thought about it. And also I will let you know, I'll update you in my meal prep review later in the week when I do my weigh-in video. So I'm just gonna let these cool down a little bit before I put it into the meal prep containers. Okay, I've let it cool for a little bit and I just kind of went through and just kind of separated it into 6 the best I could. So now I'm just gonna try and take some of that, put it in the meal prep container. I guess I should have probably used a spoon. Would have been a little easier with a spoon. Alright, then take some of the sauce and just kind of dab it over the top. Honestly, I think that I would just stir the whole thing of sauce. The drizzling it, I could see if you're going to be serving it right now, but for meal prep purposes, I would say just mix it all together. These containers are a little bit big for this. These are 4-cup containers, so a little too big. Alright, so that is it for lunches. So again, that is going to be 5 points on blue, 7 points on green, and 1 point on purple. Okay, moving on to dinners, and I said that I only had 1 dinner kit to do this week, but I'm actually doing 2 because I decided to change it up with the salmon that I'm having. So originally for the salmon, I was going to be doing rice with broccoli and cauliflower, which is actually just frozen broccoli and cauliflower that I have in my freezer. But I realized that I had some carrots and a yellow squash still in my fridge that I really want to use up. So I'm going to put those in the bag. So basically, if you're new, this is all I do. Just this, and I put all the ingredients in the bag. So for this one, I'm doing garlic parmesan salmon with rice, squash, and carrots. The rice that I use is just a 90-second ready rice, so I'm not going to put that in there. And then I have my salmon, which this recipe is enough for 3. As I've mentioned before, when we make salmon, normally I just put the amount of 2 portions in each bag, but the night we have salmon, I make an extra portion for our dogs. So for this one, I just have a couple containers here. In this one, I have 1/8 of a cup of breadcrumbs, regular breadcrumbs like the seasoned ones, 1/8 of a cup of panko breadcrumbs, and 1/8 of a cup of Parmesan cheese, and also a half a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. That's going to be for the topping. And then this is also for the topping, and this is about a tablespoon of minced garlic and a half a tablespoon of butter. And the recipes will be listed down below. I don't necessarily cook these like I do the breakfast and lunch. These are just kind of to show you how you can pre-package your dinner kits and just make them into your own. But I do, for most of these, like this one, I do have a cook with me out there, so I will try to link any videos down next to the recipe. If I have a video out there, I'll try and link that as well. So that's all I do. That's it. So that's all there is to that. So that one is done. The next night, I'm actually having this one 2 nights in a row. This is Tuesday and Wednesday night. And I changed this one a little bit too. So when I do my meal plans, that's just my plan. But when it comes to meal prep day, sometimes things change depending on what I have in my fridge. So this night I'm doing a crock pot balsamic pork roast. This is actually a skinny taste recipe. It is really good. I've had this before. But I was gonna just do instant mashed potatoes and canned corn with this. But again, I have some things that I need to use up. So for this one, I had some peppers in my fridge and I have some russet potatoes that I want to get used up. So I have 2 russet potatoes and the peppers in there. So I'm just gonna roast these up, just cut them all up and put them on a pan and roast them in my oven. And then for the roast, like I said, this is a crock pot recipe, so I just kind of have everything already portioned out and ready. So in here, I just have the seasoning that's gonna get sprinkled over the roast. This is just a little bit of salt and pepper, about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a half a teaspoon of red pepper flakes. And then the other thing I need is 1/3 of a cup of balsamic vinegar, 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire, and also 1/3 of a cup of chicken broth, which I'm just going to use canned chicken broth for this, and it's not fitting in here, so, and I'm not going to open this right now, so I'll just add that later. So in here right now is just the Worcestershire and the balsamic vinegar, so I'll add in the 1/3 cup of chicken broth when I throw it in the crock pot. The other thing that I'm not putting in the bag is 1 tablespoon of honey that you just drizzle over the roast. And then I have my 2-pound, actually this is 2.5 pound pork loin roast. So the recipe just calls for 2 pound, but this is actually 2.5 pounds. So this is super easy. You just sprinkle the seasonings over the pork roast, put it in your crock pot, and then I'm gonna mix my broth with the other liquid ingredients that I have, pour that over the top, and then just drizzle a tablespoon of honey over the top of that and let it cook in the slow cooker for 6 to 8 hours. It is so good. You just break it apart with a fork after. So that is it. So that's all I do for my dinners. And then the other night this week, we're gonna be doing tacos, so there's really no prepping to do with that one. And then Friday night, we're gonna do mushroom cap pizzas. So looking forward to that. So for your snacks, what I recommend is if you ever have like pretzels or poppables or any type of chip type things, go ahead and weigh them out now, portion them out into little bags. I'm actually not having those this week, so I'm not doing that this week. So I'm having my pudding cups, and we sometimes have popcorn, which I'll make that at night. So the only thing I have left to do is cut up my cantaloupe. Alright, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like meal prep videos. Put any comments down below. Let me know how you're coming along with your meal prepping. And if you're new, you don't need to do anything this big. Don't overwhelm yourself. Start slow and build yourself. So the other thing I didn't show is this bin that I keep in my fridge, and it just has kind of some snack things in there. I have mandarin oranges in there. I have a couple apples left, some bananas, 2-point snack pack sugar-free chocolate puddings, and some 2-point Dannon Light and Fit Greek yogurt. So I just keep that in my fridge, and then I have my cantaloupe. Breakfast, lunch does not really look that appealing as far as looking at it in these black trays, but I think it's going to be really good. So set up for another successful week. So if you're new, I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. I'm Kristi, and I'm Planning Us Healthy.